Hey, this is Ben. We're going to make a timer with a progress bar, and we're going to use some Unity events at the end, just so we can do some really cool stuff and make it nice and modular. So if you're interested, stay tuned. So what we have here is a example Unity scene. You can download this on GitHub if you want. And I've got this timer over here. I've got a Unity slider, which I'm going to use as like a progress bar, like time remaining sort of thing. And then also a TextMesh Pro Unity GUI object, which if you haven't played around with TextMesh Pro, you should definitely do that. It comes built into Unity 2019 and it's amazing. Anyway, all right, let's get started. We're gonna right click over here, create C# script, and call this countdown. And I'm going to drag and drop this onto my game object. And we gotta do a few things. We gotta do using Unity engine.ui. You need that to access the slider. Using Unity engine.events. We're going to need that for the Unity events. And using Unity engine. It's not part of Unity. Not yet, at least. So using TM Pro, which is TextMesh Pro. We need to create a few variables. So let's see here. Public. TextMesh Pro Unity GUI. I'm going to call that time text. There we go. Public slider. Call that time slider. We're going to need a float called max time. That'll be 90 seconds. And a float called timer. And we're going to need a bool for has lost. And we're going to set that to false. So you haven't lost yet. So the idea is when the timer gets to 0, you're going to lose. So first thing we got to do is timer equals max time. So we'll do that on the start. And then inside of the update, we'll do if has lost. So if you do exclamation point in front of a Boolean, it's the opposite of that Boolean. So if you haven't lost yet, then it's going to run this code. And we're going to do if timer is greater than 0. We're going to do timer minus equals time.delta time. So what that's going to do is if you haven't lost yet and the timer is above 0 seconds, we're going to subtract the amount of time it took to render the last frame to this frame. So and then for else, so if it's below 0, if it's equal to or below 0 seconds, we're going to do debug.log game over. And we're going to do has lost equals true. And for testing purposes right now, I think we could test this out and it should work. So I'm just going to set the timer to 4 seconds for now. And if you pay attention, I'm going to run it here in a second. We're going to take a look at the console log, make sure that everything's working. So after 4 seconds, we should see game over. Cool. All right. So far, so good. So we're going to set the timer equal to 0 as well. If we're below 0 seconds. We don't want any negative time, and then this will just help with that. So then we're going to do, we need a way to turn this float for the time, how much time is left, into a string for text for the time text. So let's make a function for that. So string time format. There's a bunch of ways that you could do this. This is just a quick way to do it. So string minute equals, let's actually pass in float called time. So the string will equal time. So we have to do a few things. So we're gonna say this is actually an integer. And let's divide time by 60. So what that's going to do is, if it were, say, I'm going to switch the max time to 90 seconds. So it's going to take the time divided by 60, and since it's an integer, it's going to get rid of any remainder. So it'll be a 1, so 1 minute. And we have to do .toString to convert that into a string. All right, we're gonna make another string and call this one seconds equals. We're gonna do the same sort of thing. So we're gonna do time, but this time instead of division, we're gonna do the percent sign, which is the modulus operator. Which what that'll do is it'll just give you the remainder. So we're gonna do that toString. And then we're just going to do a quick if statement. If seconds dot length is equal to 1, then do seconds equals 0 plus seconds. So what that does is, if it were like 5 seconds in the countdown timer, we would want it to be 0.5. So this just checks to see the length of the string. If it's 1, so if it's just the number 5, then add a 0 in front of it. Make sense? So then we're going to return minutes plus colon seconds. All right. So then we're going to update. We have our time text here. Equals time format timer. All right. So let's just save that and see how that looks. I'm going to make this 65 just so we can see it. I got an error. I didn't assign a value to that public variable. So now the timer is assigned to that. So let's try that again. Oh, I was in play mode. Let's do that again. All right. So if we look, 102. There we go. And now it's in the 50s. Okay. So let's also update that slider. So let's do time slider dot value equals timer divided by max time. So that'll give us a percentage of how much time is left, and set the slider to that value. And so let's just make this a small value so we can see it in action. All right. So there it goes. It is dropping. All right. And then let's throw those Unity events in there. So we need to do public class. Let's see here. Game over event type Unity event. Right. I think that's right. I always have to look at the syntax on this. I need system.serializable. You know what? I have it in my other function over here. I have a function over here to cheat. So I'm just gonna delete my my cheat. Okay. That was the issue. So we have this event, and we need to have it show up in the inspector. So let's make a public game over event and call it game over event. And then what we'll do is when you lose, we'll call game over event dot invoke. So now if we look at our inspector, we have this. So this is what you will typically, like, you'll see this on like Unity buttons and sliders and that sort of thing. But you can make your own events, and it's really awesome. There's tons of things you can do it. So now whenever the game ends, I have this game over screen that pops up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that into here and do game object set active to true. And what else can we do? Let's change the color of the player. Let's make the player. So if we do plus, and drag the player in, we can do, let's see here, mesh renderer, material, and I have a player dead material here, our character dead. So let's drag that in there. So I'm just gonna really quickly, no, what we'll do, we'll make this max time public, and then we can play around with it in the inspector. Just make it a little bit more flexible. So max time, and I kind of want it higher up. I don't like it below the event. Let's do this. Save. Okay. So now what will happen is when we've reached 9 seconds, this event will be triggered. So it's counting down. You can see the progress bar going down. Just wait just 1 second. Bam, game over. Our player is dead. I only ran it once. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this. Please comment, rate, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. The GitHub repo is in the description, so feel free to download it, play with it. I know that when I first played around with Unity events, it just changed my life. Just keeping my code nice and modular and reusable is just the coolest thing ever. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.